Hello and welcome to the Crystal Core Radio Podcast. Coming at you for the summary of Live Letter 67, an epic 5.5 hours worth of content condensed to you by two tired Texans tangoing together. Let's have some fun. We've got a lot to cover, and I'm probably going to be losing my mind as we cover all the news, guys. You can check all this out. Hit the like button, subscribe. That is the best way to say thank you if you get something good out of this. Chris, what's the biggest news of all?
The biggest news is that they opened up with a 30-minute apology. They closed with a 10-minute apology. They briefly touched on multiple times throughout as an apology about the fact that Endwalker is not going to be released on time. It is going to be 2 weeks late. We are now looking at December 7th, December 3rd being early access. All dates, the 2 weeks to the normal raid, the 4 weeks to the Savage raid being from that December 7th date instead of November 23rd. They realized this last Friday. He went to the handful of people that are above him at Square Enix and said, this is what I need to do. And they said, just so you know, this might work because you're Yoshi P, but this isn't really acceptable. And he is aware of that. It is for the purpose of quality assurance. They just were doing their master checks and they were like, do we need 1 week or 2 weeks to delay? They decided to go with 2. That does protect them so that the people that need time off around the holidays within Square Enix can still get that. That does protect the pace to 6.1. And it does help them feel very confident that this 12/7 date can stay firm.
So here is the schedule. So, like, obviously, the date, the pre-order early release is now December 3rd. The release December 7th. The first raid, normal versions, December 21st. That means Savage has been pushed out to January 4th. So, adjust your schedules, adjust your PTO accordingly. That's going to be a big topic we're going to see going into the next couple of weeks. Yoshi P made the call on Friday. And then we just found out a week later. And so that doesn't obviously give a lot of time for shifting around schedules. I'm going to have to talk with Julie about it. So like on my own end, I know I've been impacted by this, but I don't know to what degree.
Brian and I are self-employed and it's still hard. I cannot imagine people who have PTO, especially for companies that this time of year is very hard to get time off at all. Anybody who's planned things with family. I know I have family coming in town that I haven't seen in over 2 years. And I told them what days I was available, and that pivots. And so I know this is very hard. They know this is hard. He was crying when he apologized.
I just wanted to hug him.
I felt sick to my stomach with what they're going through to be here, but it doesn't mean that we're not also entitled to feel frustrated. Your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
Just be aware of however you express them might affect others.
Now, from here, we're going to just kind of peruse over it so you can see some of the beautiful artwork if you're watching the video version of this. But if you're listening to the audio, note that we're just kind of going over the key players. And the reason we're not going to read these descriptions is I don't want to have any concern of ruining, any of the story pieces. Plus, at the end of the day, we'll probably cover those in their own video. We're just really wanting to get to the core meat of all the information and news from the live letter. And this is when they showed us a picture and they said, here's a new feature. And everybody was scratching their heads. But what we're looking at right now, walking with Alice and Alphino, like what's happening here?
So normally in the game, when you are on an MSQ quest, they say, hey, we need to make it across the zone together. And then they fade into non-existence and you hop on your mount and fly all alone over there or walk across the city. And then they're waiting for you. Like, where you been? They will now, assuming you don't go too far off course, go with you. They will mount up with you. They will walk with you. They are going to follow you around. Sounds like an open world minion, kind of like the open world trust. I would be careful with because it doesn't sound like they're joining us in combat. This is merely for an immersion type thing. He did kind of imply that there might be a little bit of banter there. So a little bit of that kind of lore aspect of the trust where they might, make some comments here and there. And throughout the trust system, we have learned additional depth about characters and about events and things like that. And that they will actually be possible to be in G pose, though he does ask you to remind yourself that the MSQ is serious and you shouldn't be stopping too much to take selfies before saving the world. From here, we go on to role quests. Role quests this is something that's been a hot topic. We are moving to 5 quest lines. I believe it was 4 in Shadowbringers.
That's right. They've added, basically they've separated like the ranged and the magical and things like that. So every role as we've defined it now have a role quest.
And if you do them all, you will have an additional one. The next slide will say that this is the exact same for crafters and gatherers. It's exactly the same. But no, there will be no level 90 job quests. The level 80 job quest, there was a question about this on MMORPG.com in their interview from the media tour. I encourage you to go look at that. I will be going over that sort of thing on Gaming Kinda in the near future. I got 2 extra weeks. Let's get it done. But the level 80 quests, at least for now, will be the end of job quests. That will be the clean end. There's actually a really logical reason there. It's a really beautiful reason from Yoshi, but let's keep moving. TLDR, it's effectively, you know, these have been written by a lot of people over a long time. It's time for a clean break from this. We can always bring them back. So here are the hand and land ones. It's exactly the same. We're going to have the 5 quest lines. You do them all, you'll get more stuff. He did say these are kind of meant to be done alongside MSQ, but it doesn't sound like MSQ is going to hard gate for not doing your role quests as you go. So
yes, that's actually a nice change, because one of the things that we remarked on as kind of like, it wasn't a real negative on Shadowbringers, but there was just this first one-time awkward thing, because as the MSQ takes you, all of a sudden you get gated because you need to go do this. And so it's like, all right, I gotta stop this important march to go and do this thing, you know. So it's like, okay, now that seems to be cleaned up and be a little bit more form and functional. So then sorry if, again, this is a guys a very late show.
This slide's good. We're gonna keep it moving.
Burning forests.
Burning Forest. So we are getting new dungeons. We are getting new trials. They walked us through the new raid, actually, as some gameplay, which was exciting because it felt like maybe it had like room for trash or something. We didn't really understand. It was a neat area. They just showed us the area and no boss. So we don't really know what we're looking at, but there are these weird little rooms. We don't know. It feels like Alexander paced as far as the space. Which means that maybe there's like some presence given before the boss. Maybe that presence includes like a little like jumping around. Maybe it includes, I don't know. We don't know. There was nothing here, but the little cages on the outside were kind of undulating and moving, very immersive. And I look forward to getting into Pandemonium. That is our new raid series that will release 2 weeks after the launch, with Savage releasing 4 weeks after. Enjoy those dates. Obviously, that means that we are going to cross over the new year at some point, because that's how time works.
On this note, though, because they got into this towards the end, when it comes to the All Saints Wake, aka the Halloween event, they have stated that because of the timing, unfortunately, that Halloween event is now actually going to be later, sometime maybe after Valentine's Day. So just note that's a part of the scheduling piece. And both Chris and I were like, bummer, because I love that event. Like, that's my favorite event. So hopefully that doesn't permanently shift Halloween into the spring. It's your springtime pumpkin. But just as a note, as that information actually was delivered to us. All right, what else do we got? This is a beautiful, weird-looking thing. This
is our new maps.
Yeah.
Obviously, it feels weird because our last maps look so Thabnerian, but these are our new maps. These are called the Excitatron 6000. These will be with 6.0.5. So with the new tomestones, the new gear coming out, and the Savage Raid, that gives you basically right at kind of 30 days from when you first get into Endwalker before you really hit the grind. So that gives you plenty of time to enjoy the enormous amount of MSQ. Keep in mind, guys, the MSQ is designed to get you all the way to level 90, and the side quests, all your alt classes. So there's tons of changes here. They've announced a fair bit of what we're going to get in 6.0, 6.0.5, and 6.1 throughout this live letter. You have a lot to do. They didn't really talk about what this map is, but they did talk about them coming. I expect this to be something that hopefully is fun. I've always enjoyed maps when I make time for it. And then they went into PvP. This is the new PvP mode, Crystal Conflict. This is going to replace Feast. This is coming out in 6.1. Feast is going away in 6.1. They had talked about potentially going away. Nope, it's gone. It's out. They want to drive people to this. Crystal Conflict is meant to be a 5v5 with low pressure, simple rules, short matches. Removal of kind of role requirements will just be 5 different jobs charging in. You'll have new actions and job-specific adrenaline rushes. Lots of self-healing across the board, but it seems like maybe they're pulling the healing off the healers. We don't want to see kind of how that shakes out. There will be a casual version, a ranked version, the ability to do custom matches. It's kind of a tug of war. Any of you who have played Overwatch or aware of this kind of push the event along. Obviously, a tab targeter plays different than a shooter, but it's a similar game mode. There will be different maps, and the maps have different unique mechanics or gimmicks tied to them, such as they showed the lava map shooting fire out like a little Bomberman thing as you kind of try to have control of this crystal slowly moving. And so you see these different maps, and then there will be rewards. The rewards for PvP are changing drastically. The seasons, the ranking based on place and tier doesn't sound wildly different than where we are right now. Titles, achievements, other accolades, that doesn't sound like a huge departure. But in addition to this, we will also be running a new thing called series. They don't know yet if series are running incongruent with seasons or if they'll be longer than seasons, but they're as long or longer. And their example was, what if it went from like 6.1 to 6.2 and there were 2 seasons within that same time frame, one to the half patch and one for the back half.
And here's the great thing with the series is that they are accumulated through all PvP content. That, like one of the biggest things I had with seasons in the past, it's like, well, what if you like doing front lines, but you really don't like feast? What if you it felt so disconnected? So the season is looking like it's only going to be Crystal Conflict, but the series, as they roll out, are going to be all a part of your PvP profile. And I think that's a really big thing. But then they go and introduce a battle pass, and my heart sunk at first.
Learned. So hold on. Hold your breath for just a second. We'll feed you, baby bird. But the series here, it is literally a battle pass, like Brian said, where you're going to get these tokens at the little checks. At the stars, you're going to be able to get these bigger rewards, like mounts and all these things that would traditionally be the FOMO behind a battle pass in another game. However, all these tokens you get will be able to be used to purchase rewards from the current series or past series.
Yes.
So those will be re-released they did say at some point, so there may be some sort of delay, maybe like the Unreals where we haven't seen those come back around yet, but they were promised to. Those of you that know that, sometimes we've had events come around really regularly. Other times it's like Yokai Watch where there's 4 years. So you just never know. They've talked about being aware and that there's been a heavy request to see if they can bring Garo back. That was mentioned during this. I would love to see Garo come back. I know there's a lot of people that would be interested in the cosmetics from that. And so this will be a battle pass system, but they're addressing a lot of the typical concerns with battle pass systems by handling it in this way.
It also sounds like, let's say there was a reward that you don't care about, but you get that reward token. It also kind of sounds like, well, you can kind of pocket that and decide like, I'm going to sit on this and use it in future series as well. So I actually really appreciated that, because at first I was like, okay, like I get it. It's a good design. When we look at Guild Wars 2, they have reward tracks, but it's like it's the expiration. And I think they're kind of finding that balance. And obviously, I think our feedback will be really critical, because we've had FOMO content, especially related to PvP with Garo. And that as somebody who's gotten all the Garo stuff, I literally am so excited that if they can bring this back, that's great for the community. That's great for people who want PvP. And I want a rewarding PvP experience. And this actually has me excited. I was like, oh, I felt like I got hit in the gut. And then they're all like, oh, and those tokens, you can, and I was like, great. Like, that's all I needed. I don't want to sit here and feel like I have to play. And that's what they said. They were like, what if you're doing a raid? Like you're trying to do the world first. And like all of a sudden
you miss a
out.
season.
Oh,
no big deal.
No big deal.
So in addition to this, all these rewards being remained, tokens will carry over. We went over that. We need to have some better way of tracking profiles. So we're going to get a calling card system. They're not sure about how the naming and the exact thing. They want to be able to show it off at upcoming live letters. And this will allow you to customize a profile like you would for like a social media platform. And you'll be able to have like a little picture of your character, have borders. And that way the search profile is not just your name and like what you have leveled. It's a little more like a representation of you. And you'll be able to earn various different things that you can use to kind of decorate that. It'll come with some. But then that they're looking at that being something that would just be across the board, even outside of PvP. So it looks like it's something they thought of within PvP, but literally on stream today, we had people talking about, hey, like I wish that I could tell my friends apart, or I could use the search function, like talking about this concept of it's hard to remember just from a character name exactly who somebody is. And this is a chance for them to kind of express to you who that is, and be one more thing for us to collect and get into with those rewards coming from various things, like the ultimate weapons having glowing weapons. Just one more thing we can do. This would be in 6.1 with PvP, so I'd expect it to be in live letter 68 or 69 if they go into this more. From here, we can actually jump all the way down to gathering. So feast being gone, we went over that. Gathering. Now, the big news of the last live letter 66 was that high quality was no longer going to be available. And then they just kind of like dropped the mic like, hey, is that a problem? We had a ton of questions.
Yeah.
If it is needed for crafting, they are going to address that. They are going to adjust this because crafters will still be able to make high quality things, and they're hoping that that means that it's the same difficulty. If you were turning in stuff before and you're getting double experience for high quality or normal experience for regular quality gathered items, they're now saying, hey, it's obviously going to be normal quality. We'll increase the amount of experience, probably not to double, but they're going to increase that. And quests that require high quality are now normal quality, so those got way easier. Actions affected will be adjusted. You will be keeping perception. Languages other than English may see an adjustment in the word perception. They just took this as a chance to find a better descriptor. They said English is going to stay the same. And the requirements, those I want master botanist for getting 20,000 high quality items, those are staying in the game. They'll just change to something different. Fish are actually keeping their high quality. They're going to call their high quality now large fish, because it makes more sense that you be catching based on kind of size. And so you have large versions of the fish and smaller versions of the fish, so that fishing can kind of keep its tone. The new actions will be there, but basically what you're now looking for is you're now going to be gaining Gatherer's Boon. Gatherer's Boon is going to increase the yield. And so that is what your perception is going to have a chance to proc and things like that. For crafters, your recipe progress and all these qualities will be adjusted to account for the fact that yes, to make a high quality crafter item, I use intermediate things like, let's say, Marebow lumber, but Marebow lumber is made from Marebow logs. And if I want high quality Marebow lumber, I'd use high quality Marebow logs to make that easier. Now I only have normal quality Marebow logs. So if they adjust the ease of the ability to get high quality Marebow lumber, then from there I can move it up into like my 490 crafted set really easy. So this is spear fishing. Talked about fishing there.
It's a mini game. So for those of you in the audio, I would encourage you to check out the video version of this. And it's impressive to the point where I think Chris laughed so hard, and then he's like, well, I guess I'm a spearfishing main now. You go find these spots, and then it ends at this little mini game that you play for spearfishing. So honestly,
it's the dumbest and most delightful thing I've seen in a long time. I was like, this is so stupid. I am going to lose a lot of hours to this. Because the spear shoots out. It's like a 2D. You are playing regular Nintendo here. I don't know what's going on. I hope that means we're getting new upgraded spears. That's been a real frustration for anybody that's like spent a lot of time working on eye levels across gatherers, and then your spear just sits there. Please, God, hey, if we're going to have a new Skysteel tool, make our resplendence our offhand so that we're just glowing all the time. From here, we talked about XP downscaling. Leave quests first. Leave quests, they're adjusting the amount of gil and stuff for leave quests because of gil inflation. So they're going to just contribute to inflation. And then they actually made the fishing leaves more relevant because we all ended up making coffee biscuits. As this happened in real time during the live letter, the value of coffee biscuits and coffee biscuit ingredients went into massive flux. I spent over $1 million speculating, and it's already come back. And I have tons of ingredients left over. So there's this wild rush on it because we all have an additional 2 weeks to burn our leaves. And everybody heard leaves are changing. And they're not changing for the worse, but just be aware that if you're buying coffee biscuits, if the price feels out of alignment, it probably is.
Now, here's something we need to make sure that you are clearly aware of, because there's a lot of confusion discussion happening during the live letter about XP scaling. So that is completely changing. Now, they say that it's not going to feel like any more time to level like it does currently, but the numbers are shrinking just like with everything else. Here's the thing. They were like, we could take the service down for 3 weeks and round everybody up or figure that out. But it's just easier for everybody just to restart on the current level track that you are. So if you've got 50% of level 51 and you're 50% of the way to 52, you will be at 0 experience at level 51 when this goes into effect at the time of launch. So it is really critical that if you are concerned about losing that, chunk of experience, that you make sure you cross over a threshold, aka a level. Otherwise, it's just going to zero you out to the beginning of that level. And so there's
mostly for the bigger levels, right? Like 79 to 80, I think would really sting, where it's multiple dungeons to cap it, as opposed to like 19 to 20. One leveling roulette shoots you from 19 to 21 or 22. So like you're losing a fraction of a roulette.
Yeah. But it's still, I just want to make sure people have that information in their mind, because no matter what, there's going to be the people who don't hear, who aren't subscribed. And if you see them in chat, if you see them angrily talking on a forum,
percenters,
you got to send them the work to game and the podcast itself. Hey guys, you should be. You can also, just as a side note, if you guys haven't subscribed to the audio version, we almost had 1,000 followers over on Spotify for Crystal Core Radio.
Oh, thank you.
So just search Crystal Core Radio wherever you consume your podcasts, and you'll find us. So anyway, that's your PSA at 20 minutes into the podcast.
So the number of clears and everything's going to be the same. So, it's all, they're just adjusting the size of the numbers down. They said actually just already tracking every character and every class and dealing this, they already said was dealing in like billions of points of data. So like we have to draw the line somewhere so that we can take the game down for only 24 hours instead of taking it offline for weeks while we go in and manually do this. They're very sorry for it. Please don't take this as an excuse to go all the way to feel like you need to get everything to 80. But obviously, my jobs that are 10% the level, who really cares? Like that's the last little bit that it ticked over from running whatever I ran. But the ones that you've been like, I've done 4 days of beast drives from 79, and I'm going to do the 5th day tomorrow, and it's going to take me to 80. Go run some fates or something, ding it over, and be done.
Get it done.
That's a better plan.
Yeah. Also, this does affect all your classes, jobs, your retainers, your trust NPCs, anything that consumes experience. That is going to be impacted by the experience downscaling that happens on now. I guess December the 3rd. I guess that's essentially when that happens. So
sure,
whether you pre-order or not.
So that's the mid-level. The next is they have talked about making it easier to manage alts. And one of the things that's very frustrating is the weapon exchanges, talking about the number of weapons. The cost of the Tomestone portion of your weapon exchanges is going to drop from 1,000 to 500. That's the big takeaway here. The 2 new tomes, for those of you that follow our tomes along, instead of Allegory and Revelation, we will be moving to Aphorism and Astronomy. Nice and confusing because they both start with that solid A and an A sound. Amazing. That'll be confusing for a little bit. And then they actually joked that maybe Tomestones of Poetics, which would remain that way, should stay Tomestones of forever. But at this point, it's kind of nostalgia to keep it that way.
Well, the other adjustment that's happening that we already knew about is how they're doling out weapons because of how many more jobs are available, and so it just ends up being kind of this thing. So getting your weapon for your job is going to be much easier. So having them also reduced from 1,000 to 500 is, in my mind, in line with that adjustment itself, because then you're not like sitting here going like, why would I spend 1,000? I can just go, I can just go do this and be done with it. And
they want it to become an additional source, because what they're finding is people with lots of jobs find 1,000 is literally just not even worth engaging with. Like, it's too big. And I'll just go do something else. It's like, okay, this way you're getting weapons from all over the place so that all your jobs are finishing out. They did say in an interview that they're finding that people on average level about 4 jobs, and that was more than they expected. And they get more than 1 relic, and that's more. They thought everybody would just get 1. So they're trying to make that easier. If you want to know more about that subject, go check out the Jesse Cox interview with JP. It's on Jesse Cox YouTube. I assume JP published it somewhere. And they went over that. JP asked that question. To move on. They went over some glam here. They showed off the new glams. We got to see like the Paladin set and some beautiful sets, right? I believe that to be Reaper. We've got, one from kind of each roll of gear.
Yeah.
And so we went through the set, and then at the end, they showed a couple that are just kind of more from just new glamours. But unlike when they're data mined and we just assume where they're coming from and they get mad when they're different, they came out and beat us to the punch. We didn't data mine this because they were on pieces of paper instead of in a file we could get to. And so there's one of the new just cosmetics. And this next one here was presented now. And within 10 seconds of us seeing that image, said we are looking at adding this potentially to the Mog Station. So for those of you that are still upset about the Cruise Chaser, because we data mined it, decided where it would come from, then found out the Mog Station, The Omega stuff is Mog Station. As a side note, while we're talking about this, when they mentioned potentially adding some of the Eden glands long requested in, I believe, Live Letter 66, maybe one of the interviews or something like that, they said, yeah, we have been looking at those for the Mog Station. So just be aware, raid gear and Mog Station seems to be pretty synonymous. They've talked about hair after this. Viera females, they think are going to be in a really good spot as of 6.0. They've done a ton of work. Male Viera were already designed with hair more in mind, and so they should be in a much better spot. So they've worked on a lot of new female hairs working for these lovely Viera. Brian was identifying a bunch of these as they popped up. Male Roth, they said it's a much bigger thing. So they do believe they're hoping that that's ready for 6.1.
Then we get into one of the things Chris and I have been very excited for, the UI updates for the achievement system. So then they go into more detail about this system. My personal hope, and we'll have to wait and see, I want to be able to track achievements and challenge log stuff like I would a quest, just because I don't want to have to keep pulling up the book, but don't know yet. So don't quote me on that one, that I don't know if that's happening. But overall, with just the layout and the design of the achievements and how it's kind of structured, it looks to be at least a much cleaner experience. And I think overall it's going to be very nice to see and hopefully use that as a driving force to what kind of content you want to do. I've been using the New Game Plus system as a driving force of like, I haven't finished Hildebrand. Let me make sure I go and get that done and knocked out.
So G-pose now with instruments, and the back on your feet is being replaced by something that's going to that was apparently being abused. So now it will just work in big cities, but in trade, it's going to extend sprint to basically last until the next sprint is up. So if you use back on your feet, I can't imagine you'd want that over like battle experience at the launch of an expansion, but maybe for people that use that to get around. Maybe that's used in like RP guilds or something, not something I've used. But the bigger thing is go back up right there.
Oh, sure.
There is going to be a Grand Company seal chest that might have minions or mounts in it. So this sounds like it works a lot like the Eureka or Bosja lock boxes. It is not guaranteed, but it might have minions or mounts in it. And he said it might have something like a firecracker instead for those of you that really want another source of magic prisms in your life. So as we go back down, the Ishgard housing zone then they talked about...
They got the housing after the whole ear thing.
So now we took a 45-minute break to talk about the fact that if you'd like to, they are working with a company that you can pay $20 and get a better audio experience, and you have to send them a picture of your ear and all that. So if those memes are coming up and you wonder where it's coming from, they themselves were laughing at it. It had a weird ad at the end. It was like 45 minutes of this. So if you wonder where that's coming from, the inside joke was this 45 minutes in the middle of this 5-hour presentation.
Yeah, and we were like, I guess this is it. I guess we're done. And they're like, nope. Let's talk about housing.
Let's talk about housing, which I said there's no way they talk about housing. There's no way. The new zone will be called Imperium. It will be in the firmament. You will be able to tour it during 6.0. It'll be available during 6.1. It will have the same number. That sounds like 2424. That sounds like the same 1440 houses that we've been getting from every other ward. But there's a couple of big changes here. The first is that those of you with houses will not be able to reload to a house that's timer is not up. No more jumping the line.
Yep.
You got to wait in line like everybody else. If you win the bid, you'll be able to reload to it then, but you don't get to just jump around freely. Second of all, it's no longer going to devalue. I don't know if that really affects anything. We were all buying it as soon as it was readily available, not waiting for the price to come down. And it will no longer be possible for free company members to be made a free company leader or to be given authorization to purchase land, which means people won't be able to spin up FCs to just go bot these things. And all of these discords that break terms of service by selling free companies because they own a house, and it's a way of skirting the not selling a house directly to another player, that's going to be a whole lot harder, because you won't be able to just do it. And so enjoy 6.0 for everybody that was skirting terms of service in that way. I'm sure it sucks. I can't think of anybody in that situation that I feel particularly bad for, because it was blatantly abusing the system. A lottery system will be implemented. They haven't said what percentage of awards will be lottery and which will not. But the lottery will be that you can buy one ticket to one plot. Yeah. Per lottery window. A lottery window will be several days. I picture it like the cackpot, and then you will have several days to claim it. I picture it like the cackpot. The character to buy one as an individual, You will have to have at least one job at 50. You will have to be the second lieutenant or above. I believe that's when your squadron unlocks. You will not be able to buy one if you already own a plot on that world, even if it's on another character on your service account. To do it as a free company, you will have to be a member of a free company with authorization. Remember, that's got to wait. The free company will have to have at least 4 members and be ranked 6 or above. So not something that's just spun up today. And then another character on the same service account must not have a free company on the same world. So that does mean you could have one of each, but that's going to be a big limitation. Keep in mind, this does not backwards penalize anybody that has more houses than this, but this would be moving forward. During the land acquisition period, everybody who lost will be able to go back and claim their guild. If you don't, it's gone. The winner will be able to buy the plot, meaning if they already have a plot, they'll reload. If they don't have a plot, they'll claim it. If they don't, they can get half of their money back. That's their option. But either way, you've got to go claim it. If you don't go talk back to that board, the money's gone, and you got to put the full amount down, and there's no withdrawing. Once you turn the money over, that ticket is yours.
Yep, you cannot cancel. You're in it. You're in it to win it. If you lose, you can get all your money back, but there's still also a timer, even if you lose. So it's not something like, oh, all right, I'll also come back to it. No. Go get your money, because they can't mail it to you. And we talked about this a little bit on stream. We've talked about it many times as we've covered this game. When you hear these kind of things, it's not like they don't want to do like just sending you a mail. It's just that the system architecture and network and all that is not set up to where that is an easy fix, and it could be a limitation factor for anything we can speculate for. So at the end of the day, it's not being difficult for the sake of being difficult. This is the only way we were able to implement it at this time. We will update you if that changes in the future.
They're tracking the way everybody interacts with this, so they will be looking for anybody abusing it, but they'll also be looking, do they need to make any changes to it? You cannot withdraw when you go up to a sign, so buy later in the window if you're concerned about it. You'll be able to see how many other people have bought tickets to be in that particular lottery. So you'll be able to see, hey, there's 3 plots I care equally about. I think I want to go in the one that has the least entries to increase my odds. You'll have to put the full amount down. And if you have an existing plot, of course, you get that refund when you move over, but you'll have to put that full amount down. So that's going to limit that. So that's a big set of changes, a massive set of changes coming in 6.1. I'm sure they'll go over this a lot more in the upcoming 2 live letters. Then they talked about Oceanic Data Center, another subject I really thought they weren't going to talk about pre-Endwalker.
I know, we got a lot of 6.1 stuff. So it's coming February 2022. It's named Materia. Obviously, it's going to have multiple worlds, and they're all going to be treated as new worlds. So there's going to be kind of bonuses and more available for people wanting to transfer over to the Materia data center. So I like the name. I'm going to butcher it, unfortunately, in future videos and more. So bear with me.
What do you think? That's 6.0.8?
Yeah, I think so. I think when we look at it, probably 6.1 most likely is going to be March, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe they just played their hand and said, by the way, February. Then they kind of jump back a little bit on the housing and show us this awesome, like little, balcony.
What's a live letter without finding out cosmetics for the housing system?
Right.
It's good. It looks good. This will work at all plot sizes. That's a beautiful house they showed.
And you were questioning whether it could go on the left or the right. I think it can go on any side of the house. I think that's kind of part of it, the design. Because then you also see kind of ones where you have little smaller versions of it. So it's like, oh yeah, maybe you just build yourself a little cafe and go nuts and have fun.
Looks great.
So the last image I took was basically the summary of the dates again, before they ended up going into QVC mode and sharing all their projects and future stuff. But those dates again are the 3rd for early access, delayed 2 weeks, which Yoshi P again continued to apologize for. The 7th is the official release. The 21st is the raid. Pandemonium kicks off, and then the 4th is the Savage version of that. They do this because they don't want people to rush the story. They do this because they care, at least in the delaying of that. But that also means the tomes are going to be dropping. The new higher end tomes will drop on the 4th. That's also where you're going to get the Excitotron 6000, in which chat was like, why not 7,000? And then somebody was like, you just can't handle the Excitotron 7,000.
You can't.
6,000 is as far as we're willing to go. So
7,000 18 and up. So the December 2nd is when the patch notes will be published. So we do expect a maintenance there. So for everybody that's adjusting their schedule, don't expect to be able to play the game on the 2nd.
I would expect a 24-hour easy.
Yep. Yep. I think that'll be a full 24-hour maintenance. Don't expect it to come up early. But who knows? Who knows what to expect anymore? Who knows what to expect? Anything. This was a lot of surprises. One bad one, a lot of good ones. This was a lot of surprises.
Yeah, I think when with Yoshi P and the delay, I know there are people who are disappointed. Like I felt it. Like I mean, but I felt more for Yoshi P because like no, I mean, that's not fun news. Hey guys, you got 2 more weeks to get ready for Endwalker. Like I've been ready for Endwalker. I've been waiting to play Endwalker, but obviously I think it's for the best. Like typically with games, with the exception of like CDPR, with Cyberpunk and things like that, like it's better for the game and we'll have a better experience rather because nobody wants to like, oh, I wish they pushed it on the 19th and then all of a sudden it gets a bug that you can't progress or
frustration is the lack of notice. The frustration is the lack of notice. WoW did this with Shadowlands, and there was a frustration at people who took off work to be a part of that, who were excited about the launch of a new expansion.
Yeah,
and so the frustration comes from the timing, and that's I understand that, especially this time of year. It's very hard to get time off. Nobody wanted MMO launches this time of year anyway. Both of those launches, both the Shadowlands and the Endwalker launches, were delayed because of past events well outside of their control. And so it's a rough spot to be in.
This is going to be a rough spot for a lot of reasons. And when I just look at it, I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with family. So that kind of was like, yeah, I'll play a little bit and I'll spend time with the family. I'm still going to spend time with the family. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take that chunk of time that I want to take to dedicate to this, like just this saga alone. Also on the 8th, I'm really excited about Halo Infinite. Not going to lie. Like I really enjoyed it. I think it's going to be much better next year, like when they add in more modes and things like that. But at its core, like this is the start of that. I'm excited for that. And then it's a hard time to launch, so it's going to be interesting to see how it does. And so the worst case scenario, because they said they're trying to get it down to 1 week, and that would be, I think, even worse. It's like Black Friday launch. Like,
and how do you go to your boss and go, I need to delay my PTO by less than a pay period? Like, what? It's already hard that you took off in the last quarter of the year, many people's fiscal year. There's a ton of holidays this time of year, so you're competing with other people. If there's not blackout dates at your company, it's a really hard time of year to suddenly move this stuff around. So it sucks for everybody. Nobody's thrilled about it. Nobody's like, yeah. I mean, there might be a handful of people who are like, oh, I couldn't get that date off, and I could get the other time off, and I was in 5.2 and I wasn't going to finish, and now I am. So maybe there are a handful of people. I hope everybody that was like really worried didn't want to watch the new trailer, which looks amazing.
Oh man, so good.
I don't even know if I'll finish Shadowbringers in time. Well, good, do it. You got 2 weeks. So hopefully there is a silver lining here, but I think this is, I mean, my stomach just dropped. I just can't imagine being in their shoes. The
1.0 player in me though appreciates the delay because it's like when we look back and be like, hey, we were saying that like we were beta testing and saying like, yo, like there's some problems here. Like, I don't think you got time to fix these things, like delay. And it's like, we're moving ahead. And so
I think the people it stings are people that don't have a history with the game, right?
Oh, more or less, right? Like if you're like, I'm in, you guys sold me on Endwalker, I'm excited. What? It's like, yeah, it sucks. It's sorry to let the brakes got pumped. We got we're all pretty sad. I think essentially though, like the general reaction online is just hugs for Yoshi P and his team. Like we got it. We understand, like obviously crazy circumstances in 2021 and prior, like all this stuff we've all been going through. And 14 has been such a relief and such an escape that I know Yoshi P, like even when we talked as a part of the presentation, as a part of the media tour, like his heartfelt, love for the folks in the medical and that they're working hard because they know that even though they're not treating patients, that they're able to offer entertainment and escape and, relief, in the form of a video game. So I think that's critically important. My gosh, that ear thing, dude. Can we just we've summarized it. Is there anything from a summary perspective that we need to cover anymore?
No, the ear thing was weird. The ear thing was weird. I mean, every once in a while, like I assume it appeals to somebody. Like it felt very salesy. They had they literally had a salesperson in the middle of it who was like, "This is amazing! It's amazing."
We use artificial intelligence to
and there was like some weird like Because when they first did it, somebody's like, have they ever done anything like this before? I was like, they just did a bunch of special integrations with the PS5, and that's not available to PC players. And so hopefully they found a company to kind of do some of that. And they were like, yes, but the PS5 only has 5 presets as opposed to we are custom. And like, it just felt like, are you guys underselling like something you just released? And so like, it just struck me as a little odd. Every once in a while it's just something quirky. I'm sure people that, really really appreciate the audio experience or really rely on the audio experience, appreciate it, or people that are audiophiles really appreciate it. It wasn't for me. Like, I'm not the target demographic. These are $9 headphones that make my ears hurt for wearing them. So like, I'm not the guy.
And he's been streaming today. Like,
I've been live 19 and a half hours as of this moment.
Dun, 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 dun. Like, like Mikey got me up at 3 a.m. So I'm up. Yeah. So this is 24 hours for me. And because he had a cough, I took care of him. And then it's like, I was like, I'm going to try to get a nap. So I talked to Julie and she's like, go rest. And then I laid down and then she's like, I'm so sorry. I need your help. We have broken glass. Like, everything's gone. Like, you come back with a pizza and everything's on fire. It's like, all right, well, we're just going to have to do what we could do tonight. And that's pretty much it. So I was just like, that ear thing was the hardest part of the live. I think I was like, literally.
Especially because it wasn't at the end. It's usually at the end, right? They're selling dolls and books and notepads and guitars and whatever.
Collab.
And they're like, yeah, and we're collabing with this product and we released a new special mouse or headphones or whatever. And you're like, yeah, you guys do your thing. And somewhere in there's a product maybe I've always wanted to watch. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of watch I want. Oh, a 14 watch, how cool. And so like, you listen for that product that appeals to you. And it's in a big mix of like a Sears catalog full of Sky Mall stuff that you're like, I don't know if I want that. But then you're like, oh, I do want that one. But it wasn't. It was in the middle of the live letter. It was like this intermission brought to you by Embody, where Soken literally came in and Foxconn went off stage so Soken could tell you about how great this was. And
here's the weirdest part. So they like, okay, you're like, why do they? They're sitting here like, all right, you got to send us a picture of your ear, which immediately is like, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, send me your ears. And then I tweeted out like Earwalker, Final Fantasy 14 Earwalker with a mouse with just giant ears. But so you have that aspect. But then
what is that headline when that database leaks? Right? We've had a breach. Unfortunately, 2.5 million ear profiles have now made their way onto the dark web.
So essentially, they like that data gets consumed. It's like $20 or something, assuming it's a one-time fee, and it gets mapped, and then it gets associated with your profile, and then you can turn on spatial audio in your headphones. And it just seems so crazy that a part of me as a content creator just wants to do that now, just so that it's like, yeah, like, and then it's like
some of it's just sales pitch too, because they said you'll be able to hear left, right, forward, back, up, and down, and the human ear doesn't detect up and down. If you want to go read about an interesting thing that the human ear does, there's even some YouTube videos from like Smarter Every Day that like show how our ears work. They're weird. It's why different species have different ears than us, because they're not actually good at some things.
Oh man.
So it was definitely like an odd pitch where I'm like, this is nuts. I don't know. So in chat goes, I'm eating my 5th jar of mayonnaise. And like, that seems less weird than this. Like, this is...
Oh man.
I have less questions.
Well, and the most surprising thing right after that, right, was the shift into even more information. Like, we literally was like, okay,
huge information.
This is the end. And then it's like, everybody's like, is this the end of the live letter? We're like, I hesitate to say yes, because occasionally they come back with something, and then it's like live letter, and then another hour later, like, we went through housing, we went through just every little, like, the system change, like, there was so much. It's like, well, I'm glad we decided to continue on through that nightmare.
I started showing a manga comic book, and I was like, I don't want to click off, because what if Island Sanctuary's after this? Like,
right.
Like, I don't...
And so people would come into chat occasionally and be like, have they talked about Island Sanctuary yet? No.
I doubt they're going to, but who knows?
Who knows at this point?
Who knows? If we roll a natural 20, maybe it comes up next.
And so, yeah.
So choose your own adventure live letter.
It's like, wow.
We have covered dozens of these guys, and this one was bizarre.
This one. And then finally we got to QVC. Then it was like, and then they had to like, oh, we're gonna watch a video, and it was an ad for the guitar. And then it was back into also a like a
good promotional videos.
A music video for the vinyl collector soundtrack. I'm just like, we're just here like, all right, like this is literally part 5. Like they went through and had multiple
took a lot of breaks this time. I told everybody, I was like, there's like 1, maybe 2 intermissions. Live Letter 67 had 67 parts. It was nuts.
Oh man. And I was like, we actually had to start taking like, all right, I'm gonna go get some more coffee now. I'm gonna make a snack. I need to eat something so I can actually stay up and do the summary after this. So we love you guys. If you're listening to this, note that this is out of just a love for you and a passion for this game. That we're still up in at a Texas 3:30 in the morning. This is 24 hours of me being up. And I know tomorrow's gonna suck, but you're probably not gonna see me or hear from me or have to worry about that. I'm gonna go like crawl into bed here after I get the audio version of this up and the work to game summary part, which is the first half of this video, up. So hopefully my computer exports like a boss. I ran into some technical issues, really was frustrating. Like my computer blue screened at one point, and then it like would occasionally like, hey, I'm not going to send data. And oh god, that was so
today.
annoying.
I literally thought like, hey, if we're gonna watch and react stuff together, we should just do that within the podcast screen where you can host stuff.
Yeah,
I'll watch. And then like your computer was go up and down, and I was like, well, I'll just be over here where my stuff is just smooth as butter.
I'm so jealous of you.
I feel so bad because your setup is so much fancier than mine.
I just wonder if it's the Spectrum that I've got because it's cable. Occasionally, it's like I'm gonna just take a dump on you.
Yeah, the ISP can only do so much if it's over coax, as opposed to I'm on fiber.
Yeah. Oh, and and Creatures in chat, the latest update to Premiere Pro actually had the same thing happen to him. So maybe like it could have been the fact that
you're
like
too new, you're too good.
Creative Cloud's like, we're just going to go ahead and update your software for you behind the scenes. I keep getting this notification for downloading and installing Windows 11, and I'm just like, I'm gonna wait, and then it's like after going blue screen, I was like, you know what? I'll just effing format this whole thing. I got 2 extra weeks now. That I'm not going to hurt myself.
I think I'm going to go for Omni 80. I think that's my pivot.
Serious?
Yep.
In 2 weeks.
Omni 80.
You're at Omni 50, right? Or you're almost Omni 50?
I Ninja's at 48.
Okay, so you're almost Omni 50.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so break it down. What are the lanes here? Where do you got left?
So I was on pace to already have Monk and Fizz range done, and so I was on pace to only have the 3 melees left.
Mm-hmm.
Samurai's in the 50s. Dragoons in the 50s, Ninjas right up against the 50s. So it adds about 90 levels to my go-to.
Okay.
But like I picked up 16 today.
That's amazing.
Whatever. Well, yeah, I don't know if it's today anymore. It's yesterday time.
Mm-hmm.
This sitting, I picked up 16 levels. I've been aiming for 5 per time I sit down. But I hit 6 twice this week. So I think I'm going to go for Omni 80. I think the math was already checking out that Monk was going to be done and Samurai was going to be close. Samurai was probably going to hit it. So I was really like, okay, I bet Dragoon and Ninja stop at 50, and I've just got 60 levels to go in the expansion. So I think 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks, 60 levels.
2 weeks, 14 days levels. You can get it done.
I think it's doable.
You can get it done. You just gotta power through. You take care. You take your Beast Tribe dailies for anything with a long queue time. Honestly, you can always open up
Zadnor.
Oh, it's so valuable.
Zadnor's so good from especially from 75 to 80. 75 to 80, Zadnor, like the other stuff just seems to just fall off a cliff. And Zadnor, for some reason, just is the little engine that could.
That's honestly where I'm looking at because like we talked about our plans. We can keep talking about them, but my plan is to take Reaper and Sage to 80, and I was going to do Zadnor for that. Like I was just going to go into that zone, pop, make sure my now I need to make sure from a 2 weeks out period that I have my Wondrous Tales done, so I can turn that in on day and date, on the 3rd. So it's like give me an extra half level, just like boost up, run them through before I actually step into Endwalker from a story perspective, So it's like, yeah.
My inventory's clean. I've got 2 retainers clean. My inventory is clean now. Omni 80 is the next logical step to prep for Endwalker. So if I have 2 extra weeks that I did not plan for, that's the next logical step. So I think that's the plan. We've put in the time. There are people that have been in this stream 12 and more hours. There are people that have been in this stream 18 hours. They've been hanging out. We've had a ton of support today. I do want to say thanks. Pharma Girl, Nefesha, Cosmos, a ton of people came in and dropped Prime and dropped bits. And Twitch has this cool new thing where if you get an ad, which our ad revenue goes to support giveaways here on the channel. But if you get an ad, sometimes it'll let you interact with the ad. If you interact with the ad, it gives us just free bits courtesy of Amazon. So there's a lot of cool stuff. I turned ads off at some point so that people wouldn't get ads mid live letter. I just turned them off altogether I turned them off for subs, but thanks to a handful of very generous people, we have very few non-subs on this channel anymore. So
yeah, and thank you very much, Farmer Girl. Thank you very much.
Farmer Girl and Phil did a lot of
Phil,
did some heavy bits, but there's a lot of other people that came in and were incredibly generous. And yes.
Well, and speaking of generosity, Luke is bringing you guys this MP3. If you're listening to the audio, a day and date for his basically funding all hosting fees for the year. So appreciate Luke. Also, Plague of D, Redline Gamer, Red Rocket, Dark Wolf, Psycho, Cordell, WG Productions, and Keelan joining the podcast legends, kind of helping to offset the cost of operating a podcast. Thank you guys so much. So just like you're over on Twitch, for those of you who also go above and beyond and the other different avenues that we have, we really, cannot thank you guys enough. But beyond just the financial support, also y'all lurking support, just, being engaged in the community, liking and commenting and things like that. Like, honestly, you guys are the best. I think we have one of the best communities. So
we're going to try to show it with a ton of content coming your way. We have a bunch of podcasts scheduled. We're about to have to go reevaluate those because a lot of them already had kind of subject matter lined up around being, are they just pre-launch? Are they just post-launch? And obviously that's all up in the air. So we're going to go get a bunch of that stuff rescheduled. We had our Endwalker plans. We'd already spoken with our wives and all of our loved ones and said, this is our availability. That's all going to be up in the air. So we'll update you as soon as we know kind of what our plans are. But until then, my plan is to be 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays on stream and continue to bring a ton of YouTube content your way. I have some really cool projects. I filmed seven videos the day before whatever today is, however time works. So I filmed 7 last night. So I got some really, really neat stuff coming your way. And I appreciate all the support this year that's made that possible. I think that's it for me, man. It's been a great live letter. It was, it started off with some rough stuff. By the end, they were laughing. They were having a good time. They were smiling. And it reminded us why we love this game. Obviously, delays suck and your frustration is valid. But at the same time, you can love someone and be frustrated at them. You can love this game and be frustrated at it. And so I am very frustrated at the change and the lack of that it happened, and B, that, we got so little notice, and how that's going to impact a number of people a lot worse than it will me. And how it has to feel as the devs. Like, that all sucks, but I'm still really looking forward to Endwalker, and a lot of what they went over makes me even more excited. I think deciding to share a ton of 6.1 with us, they did not have to do that. I did not expect them to do that, but I think it was a good reminder of like, this is why we do this. When we saw how beefy 6.0 is, the half patch 6.1, when we were reminded of just how much work goes into this game, I think it started to make 2 weeks feel a little more of like a pill that I can actually swallow. I mean, I'd rather not, but like it's something that's very reasonable given context.
Absolutely. Guys, this is the Crystal Core Radio Podcast, actually episode 97. That, from a scheduling perspective, we're obviously coming up on 100 episodes, and so we cannot thank you guys enough, which is kind of surreal. So I was wondering if episode 100 would be like right on the 19th. I guess we'll hit it maybe prior to that. So we'll have to wait and see, guys. Thanks for watching and listening and tuning in. We appreciate you wherever you get your podcasts. We thank you for, giving us a shot and opportunity. If you feel like we earn it, be sure wherever you listen, rate us at 5 stars. That is a great way of helping and sharing out the show. But we're going to go and wrap up, guys. This has been Crystal Core Radio. This has been Brian and Chris summarizing live letter 67 for our 97th episode. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for being you. We'll hope to see you on our next time. But until then, take care.